Good morning, students. Now, today we are going to go through our next topic of the same chapter, the effects of the war. Here, the war had been devastating impact on the entire continent, both psychological and financially. So, we are learning here about the effects of the war because this First World War, which was fought between 1914 to 1918, so after that there were some bad impacts on the of the war on the Germany. So, it affected both psychologically and financially because here the resources of the Germany were also being taken away. At the same point of time, they were humiliated, badly humiliated by the allies. From a continent of creditors, Europe turned into a one of debtor. So in the earlier days, what used to happen? They used to lend the money, and they were just like creditor. Everybody used to give them money. Now later on, what happened? They become the debtor. Now this is the time when they owe money to the others. Because in war, what happens? A lot of resources are already been destroyed in the wars. So you require money, and whatever money you will put into the war, it will all just a waste. So in this case, they were taking the loan or financial help from the other countries, and they were fighting this war. So because of that, economic wealth drained away. Now, unfortunately, the infant Weimar Republic was being made to pay for the sins of old empire. Now here, after the war, Weimar Republic, as we have seen in the earlier video, this was formed and they had to pay for the sin of the old empire. Now, whatever the deeds which were being done earlier in the First World War, so Weimar Republic was called and they were made to sign the Treaty of Versailles. The Republic carried on the burden of the war, guilt, and national humiliation. So, this Weimar Republic, they carried the burden of the war guilt because whatever the destruction which was happened in the war, so they were just held guilty for it, and national humiliation, and was financially crippled by being forced to pay compensation. So at the same point of time, some territorial part was also been taken away. At the same time, $6 billion were also asked as a compensation of war from the Germans. Those who supported the Weimar Republic, mainly socialist, Catholic, and Democrats. So these socialists are the people who used to believe in socialism, that everything should be in control of the government. Catholics, it is just like a wing of the Christianity. Democrats are the people who believe in democracy. So they were the supporters of the Weimar Republic. They become the easy target of attack in the conservative nationalist circles. So what happened? Whenever they used to go out, the people used to attack them because they were member of or supporters of Weimar Republic. So because people were just humiliated because Weimar Republic was the one who went to sign this Treaty of Versailles, and they were all angry that why they went over there, why they signed it, and they were holding them guilty for this. They were mockingly called November criminal. So this supporters, they whenever the people find them, they used to call them November criminals. Why November criminal? Because this treaty was signed in November. Now this mindset has a major impact on the political developments of the early 1930, as we will soon see. Now we'll be seeing at the stage of 1930 what was happening in the years of 1930. The First World War left a deep imprint on the European society and polity. The soldier came to be placed above civilians. Now here the society and the politics were playing game all around. So the soldiers were above the civilians. So they were just calling that time because after the war they were badly humiliated. So they were just showing that the soldier should be given more respect than the normal civilian. So if you are a soldier, that means you are somebody great, somebody of a great honor. And if you are just a civilian, then you are just leading a simple life. So such a easy thing was that for them. Now politicians and publicists, laid great stress on the need of the man to be aggressive, strong, and masculine. So all these politicians and publicists, they were stressing that how the character of a man should be. The man should be aggressive, means if anybody says anything to the man, he will be start fighting against it, or he will start just to abuse someone. So this is that they these Germans are not the kind of people who will be in peace of mind. If you say something to them, they are very arrogant in nature. Definitely, they will turn angry on you. So here, aggressiveness strong means they should be strong and not weak. If somebody is crippled, so they don't consider them to be fit. Same way masculine. So that these are the qualities of the man. They should be built with strong muscles, and all these things were required because they actually after the war they were all angry, and they wanted to make Germany to be strong in future. The media glorified the trench life. The truth, however, was that soldiers live miserable life in this trench. So what is trench? Trench is an area something like this. They just used to dig a ground like this, and the soldier will stand over here like this. Okay, and the gun will be here, and if any enemy will come from above like this with a gun, and if enemy is coming from here, so they will just shoot him with the gun. So this is what a trench. They used to dig the ground like this, and they will stand there. So they this all this media used to glorify that the trench life is the great life. It is kind of thing which they relate to bravery. The truth, however, that was that the soldier lived a miserable life in the trenches. So, what was the truth? The soldiers were not having a very good time in the trenches. So, why they are saying like that? They were trapped with rats feeding on corpse. Corpse means dead bodies. Okay, so they were standing over there. If somebody is killed, so what happens? The body lies there for a very long time, and the rats come and they used to eat the flesh of the body. So they live like this. After that they face poisonous gases and enemy shelling. So they face poisonous gases because at that time some advanced weapon were discovered and they were using them in the war. So poisonous gases were there, and the enemy will be firing at them. The shells are the parts of bullet which comes out when you fire at someone, and witness their ranks reduce rapidly. Now, aggressive war propaganda and national honor occupied great center stage in the public sphere. So, what was happening here? The war and the feeling of revenge was the propaganda for the national honor, that we should have some respect for our country and we should fight for it now. So, it was the kind of thing which was going on in the mind of the peoples of the Germany at that time. Why popular support grow for the conservative dictatorship that had recently came into being? Democracy was indeed a young and a fragile idea which could not survive the instability of interwar Europe. So here, all the people they just wanted a kind of person who could be just like a dictator, and he can take the control. So all the decision will be taken very quickly by him, and there will be no problem like that in the future. And here the democracy was just like a young idea, a young fragile idea which can be broken. So people were not actually in support of the democracy. They never wanted democratic government. They wanted somebody to take this leadership control, and it was just a dictatorship. So this feeling was later on Hitler took the advantage of this kind of feeling of the people, and that's how he became Hitler. Now political radicalism and economic crisis. Now here political radicalism and economic crisis. So here the birth of the Weimar Republic coincided with the revolutionary uprising of the Spartacist League on the pattern of Bolshevik revolution in Russia. So when Weimar Republic was framed, the opposite to it, there were another group. Wait for a minute. Yes. So the another group which was or another party which was standing against it, it was the Spartacist League. Now this was framed by some of the people organized, and they were against the Weimar Republic. What they wanted a centralized control over the things. They were not in favor of the democracy. They wanted a person who was just like a dictator, and he will take the control. So Weimar Republic wanted to bring democracy, and these people were demanding for a centralized control. So on this parties, Marxist League, this league was formed mainly by the peoples, and it was the pattern of the Bolshevik Revolution in the Russia. Now, Soviets of the workers, means the Union of the Workers and Sailors, were established in many cities. The political atmosphere in the Berlin was changed with the demand of the Soviet style government. Now, what happens? Slowly, what started, the people started making the groups, and in Berlin, the entire atmosphere changed, and they wanted a Soviet style governance. They wanted, just like in Russia, the Lenin was the controller, like he was just a kind of dictator over there. So, here they also wanted the same thing. So, those opposed to this, such as socialists, democrats, and Catholic, met in Weimar to give the shape to the democratic republic. Now, these socialists, democrat, and Catholic, they were in the favor of the democracy. So they met in Weimar and they wanted to give a shape to a democratic republic. So the Weimar Republic crushed the uprising with the help of the war veterans organizations called Free Corps. So what happened here? The Weimar Republic called the Free Corps, called means they are the retired military men, and by the help of them they just crushed the uprising of this the another ones. Okay, so the Sparsists were gone now. The anguished Sparker later found that the Communist Party of the Germany. Now after that, what happened? When they were crushed down, the Spartacists later found the Communist Party, okay, of the Germany. Now communist and socialist henceforth become irreconcilable enemies. Now what happened? These socialists and the communists, they become enemy of each other and could not make common cause against Hitler. Both revolutionaries and militant nationalists craved for radical solutions. So here both become the enemies of each other, and they were not looking at anything like Hitler was not in the picture at that time. But later on, the Hitler took advantage of this situations, because they were not they were fighting. They were just radicals. They were against each other. So they were fighting, and slowly the Hitler got advantage of this. Now, political radiculation was only heightened by the economic crisis. Now, when both these political organizations were against each other, so this was the situation became worst because of this economic crisis of 1923. Now, here what happened? Germany had fought the war largely on loans. Okay, when the Germany was fighting the First World War, they were fighting that by the taking the loans, and they have to pay the reparation in golds. So what the reparation is, when you fight, then you'll have to compensate it. So in exchange, you will be giving gold to the countries with whom you are fighting. So this depleted gold reserve at this time, resources were scarce. So what happened? The gold resources went down for the Germany. In 1923, Germany refused to pay. Now in 1923, Germany, what are they doing? They are saying that they are not having any kind of gold now. And the French occupied its leading industrial area, Ruhr. So when the Germany refused to pay the gold as reparation, so these French occupied is a very good industrial area, Ruhr, to claim on the coal, because there were coal reserves, so they occupied that particular area. Now Germany was already in pressure because they were defeated in the past. So here the Germany retaliated, means they just fought against it, but there was just a passive resistance. They were not able to put their word in a forceful manner. They were just asking. just requesting. It was the situation like that, that if you just like if you want to leave that land, if it is possible, because it means too much for us, they were saying like that. They were simply just requesting, and printed paper currency recklessly. Now they were not having money, so there was the second option with them, that they should print money and then they can pay them. So they were just printing the currency like anything. They were just printing the notes and circulated those notes in the market. With too much printed money in the circulation, the value of the German marks fell. So what happens in the economics, when you print a lot of money without the growing economic activity? If you print money, suppose in India the economic activities are not growing, and what you are doing, you are printing the currency. So what will happen? Lot of money will circulate in the market, and everybody's purchasing power will increase. This will lead to the increase in the price of the goods and services. So same thing happened in Germany. So against US dollar, in the beginning, one mark was equal to 24,000. Sorry, $1 was equal to 24,000 marks. So, and in July, it was 3,53,000 marks. So here you can see it from 24,000 to 3,53,000 marks. So here the this mark was getting depreciated. Okay, badly. In August, it was almost 46 lakhs 21,000 marks. So here you can see it was just depreciated a lot. And at 19 in December, it was a big figure. I think it is too much. It is in crores, 98 crores 8 lakh 60,000, which is a big value in terms of depreciation. Because if this is the value, like $1 is equal to 98 crore 8 lakh 60,000 marks, it's a big value. Now the figure had run into trillions. Now this figure is running into the trillions because these people were printing the money recklessly. They were not thinking about what will happen. At that time, the I think the economists were very few at that time who had the knowledge to how to do the management of these things. So lot of depreciation was there in the currency. As the value of the mark collapsed, prices of the goods soared. Soared means the prices will rise of the market in the market of the goods. The image of the German carried the carrying cartloads of currency of not to buy a loaf of bread. So here the condition was, if you want to buy a piece of bread, you'll have to take a bundles of currency notes into the market, and then you can buy just a piece of bread. And it was widely publicized, evoking worldwide sympathy. This crisis came to be known as hyperinflation, a situation where prices rise phenomenally high. So this situation was called as hyperinflation. Inflation means where the prices just increases at a very rapid rate in the market. Sorry. Eventually, the Americans intervened and bailed Germany out of the crisis by introducing the Davis Plan, which reworked the terms of reparation to ease the financial burden on Germans. Now, what happened? Americans came in between. Now they bailed out the Germany out of this crisis. So Davis Plan was just implemented, which helped to pay the Germans in easy terms. The payment will be paid in easy terms, means reparation will be done. Now the years of depressions. The year between 1924 to 1928 saw came stability. Okay, so some stability came at that time. Yet this was built on sand. But this stability was built on sand means it was fragile. The German investment and industrial recovery were totally dependent on short-term loans. Now here the industrial recovery of the Germans was dependent on the loans which was given to the Germans, largely from the USA. Who has given the loan? USA, America. This support was withdrawn from when the Wall Street Exchange crashed in 1928. Now, what happened? This stock exchange in America, which is known as the Wall Street Exchange, it crashed in 1929. Fearing a fall in prices, people made frantic efforts to sell their shares. Now, what happened when this market collapse, stock market collapse in the market, all the people who are purchasing shares, they started selling it, and because of that, stock market fall rapidly. So, fearing a fall in the prices, people made frantic efforts to sell their shares. On a single day, 24 October, 13 million shares were sold. So, in one single day, if 13 million shares were sold, so suppose if everybody is selling, then the prices of those particular shares will come down at a very great speed. Okay, this leads to the economic crisis sometimes. This was the start of the Great Economic Depressions. Okay, so in the many people in the history they say about this great economic depression of 1913 America. So this was it, Great Economic Depression. Over the next 3 years, between 1929 to 1932, the national income of USA fell by half. So here the America was going through the Great Depression, and the national income of the USA was becoming half, or GD, or in other terms you can say that the GDP of the America was becoming half. The factories were shut down, export fell, farmers were badly hit, and speculators withdraw their money from the market. So here all the factories were shut down, this exports were down, and the families were badly affected. Okay, and the particularly the people started withdrawing money from the market which were given on the loans. So they started asking for money back from them. The effects of the recession in the US economy was felt worldwide. So there was a global impact of this economic depression worldwide. Now the German economy was first hit by the economic crisis by 1932. Now this was the worldwide impact, so Germany was also badly impacted. The industrial production was reduced to 40%. In 1929, level of worker lost their jobs and were paid reduced wages. Now here many people lost their jobs, especially workers, and they were paid reduced wages. The wages which they were getting earlier, now they are getting lesser wages. The number of the unemployed touched an unprecedented 6 million. So 6 million is a huge number in terms of unemployed peoples. On the street German you can see men with placards around their neck saying willing to do any work. So what happened in Germany? The people were roaming around, and there was a plate which was tied around their neck that they are willing to do any kind of work. Just provide them the work. Now unemployed youth playing card and simply sat at the street corners. So some of the youth which were young, they were simply playing card at the street corners because they were not having any kind of job, desperately queued up at the local employment exchange. So employment exchange is a place where you can get work. So there was a huge line in just search of some job. As jobs disappeared, the youth took to criminal activity and total despair became a commonplace. So because there was no jobs, so youth started taking on the criminal activities, and they were started looting the peoples. The economic crisis created deep anxieties and fear in the people. The middle class, especially salaried people and pensioners, saw their saving diminishes when the currency lost its value. Now, what happened because of this? The salaried people who were getting salaried, or they were pensioners, suddenly their saving started to diminish because the currency was losing its value, and the people had to pay more money. As they were paying earlier, they were paying less. Now they had to pay more because the currency lost its value. Which currency? Mark. German currency it is. Okay. Now a small businessman, the self-employed and retailer suffered. Now small businessmen, it was a problem for them as well. So business here got ruined. These sections of the society were filled with the fear of proletarianization. So proletarianization, what is this term means? This term means that you are decreased to a level of the worker. Suppose you are a good earner, and suppose your level is decreased to the level of the worker because you are spending more, because the value of the currency is lost. An anxiety of being reduced to the ranks of the working class, or worse still, the unemployed. Only organized worker could manage to keep their heads above water. So who are this organized worker? Organized workers say where every each and everything you're going to get. Like if you say about the organized sector, so it means where the rules and regulation are proper, everything provident fund and gratuity will be paid to you, leaves you are going to get, everything will be recorded. Okay, anytime you cannot be thrown out, just like a government job. So these people were about the they were able to keep their head above the water, means they survived somehow. But unemployed weakens their bargaining power, but this thing weakened their bargaining power. Now big business was in crisis. The large messy peasantry was affected by sharp fall in agriculture prices, and women were unable to fill their children's stomach, were filled with the sense of deep despair. Now what happened, even this impact was there on the agriculture. The goods agriculture prices were down, and the women were unable to feed their children. So even the peasants or farmers, they were facing the problems here. Now politically too, the Weimar Republic was fragile. The Weimar Constitution had some inherent defects which made it unstable and invulnerable to the dictatorship. Now Weimar, already the people were not having any kind of respect for them. So there were some defects also in it. And these things led to the dictatorship. Once was proportional representation. This made achieving a majority by any one party a near impossible task, leading to a rule by coalitions. So it was this made the achieving a majority by any party. It was just like an impossible task because people were not in favor. So they were about to make a coalition type form of government. Another defect was Article 48, which gave the president the powers to impose emergency. So another thing, if nobody is able to come in power, so what will happen? The president will impose the powers and emergency will be established. Suspend civil rights and rule by the decree. So all the civil rights will be suspended, and there will be a set of rules which will be implemented. Within its short life, the Weimar Republic saw 20 different cabinets lasting an average of 239 days. So this cabinet, which was an average in 239 days, there were different cabinets. So this all these cabinets minister were changing at a very great speed, and a liberal use of Article 48. Yet this crisis could not be managed. So all this crisis, there were a lot of problem with this Weimar Republic. So people lost their confidence in the democratic parliamentary system. Now people were not in favor of democratic system now, which seemed to offer no solution because democracy was just like the thing which was not giving any kind of solution for them. So this is it. In the next video, we are going to learn about Hitler rise to power. Thank you.